Greetings, Meadowview family. My name is Jeremy Ross, and along with my wife Amanda and our 4 daughters, Kayla, Bella, Jana, and Eliana, we serve here in Orlando, Florida at the Pioneers headquarters. My role is with Pioneers is doing member care and member development, so I track with about 80 missionary families throughout various countries throughout East Asia and mainland Southeast Asia. And I've been in this role for about 2.5 years, and it's been just a blessing and a joy to be able to work with the member development team here and also to be able to connect with so many missionaries around the world. And so a big part of my job is just connecting with missionaries and tracking with missionaries and hopefully pastoring and caring for missionaries. And so I do that through a variety of ways. We do a lot of emails, a lot of Zoom. We've been Zooming for years now, so we're well ahead of the curve. We have a lot of face-to-face interactions as well. When missionaries come back to the States on home assignment or furlough, they come into Orlando for a debrief and to kind of connect with the home office. And so we have an opportunity then to connect and care for folks, as well as having 5 to 6 different events throughout the year that are based on caring for families and also kind of reconnecting with God. And so it's great to kind of be part of that level of spiritual formation as I track with our people. And so, one of my favorite ways I didn't mention to connect with missionaries is to be able to travel and go to where they're serving. And so normally about 2 times a year, I'm able to travel to either go to conferences in the area. I've been to Malaysia a couple of times and Thailand a couple of times. Or what's more exciting is to actually be able to go and see teams and see our members on the fields of which they serve. So it's been interesting to see how Pioneers has had to flex as the pandemic came about. Pioneers, like the rest of the world, kind of shut down. And so we had to get creative about how we were to go about kind of connecting with field members. And so, since March, the office has been closed. I've been working from home. This is actually where I work. This is my office. I actually didn't have a desk, had to buy a desk in March. It's been quite an adjustment. My 4 daughters are all homeschooled, so Daddy is now around quite a bit. So we've had to make some adjustments with that. But it's been great to be around them. It's been great to have opportunities throughout the day to connect with my family. So we're doing a lot of care as a team, as a member development and care team. We're doing a lot of care through virtual. So just like everyone else, we are now connecting more through Zoom. So much Zoom. It's great to be able to have an opportunity to connect face to face, but this is the next best thing, and so we're making the adjustments as well. Our team's been able, in response to the growing needs that are out there, our team has been able to produce an amazing set of videos called Still Waters that kind of deal with different topics, and I think they've been really helpful for field members to be able to go and download, covering a range of topics that they can either discuss within their team or their larger team within their area, or just to be something to reflect upon as individuals. So there's been topics from anxiety to dealing with team conflict to parenting in a pandemic. Who knew that was going to have to be a thing? To, just marriage, just a general kind of overview of marriage in this context. And so there's been a lot of extra strain and stress and anxiety around the context that our missionaries have been in. Different countries have responded in different ways. So some families have been quarantined and on lockdown for months upon months upon months, barely being able to leave their house, with children and older folks not being able to leave at all. So it's a wide range of kind of situations and contexts. So we had to get creative, and virtually there are opportunities to do that through group discussions and group interactions. So we've been very thankful for technology. It's wearing and it can be exhausting, but it's an amazing blessing at the same time. So that's a little bit of kind of what's been going on with our team. I wanted to share a little bit about, a little update on my family. Everyone's doing well. My wife homeschools our four girls, and that is a challenge in and of itself. For a while there, we were kind of virtual, and then now have, since the beginning of this year, gone back to the classroom. My girls are part of a homeschooling curriculum called Classical Conversations. Some of you might know about that. My wife is a tutor, so they go in 1 day a week. So it's been great that they've been able to do the appropriate things and take the appropriate measures to be able to do that without anyone getting sick. So that's pretty awesome. And so she's really enjoying that. She's staying super busy. My oldest daughter, Kayla, who turned 16, or is 16, she's about to turn 17. So she has been driving now. So now I'm a parent of a teenage driver, and that is terrifying, but also exciting because she can take all her sister's places now. So she's doing great. Kayla's doing great. She played volleyball this year and loved it. and she loves her homeschool co-op, and she's loving connecting with her youth group, and she's a youth leader. So she's doing really well. And Bella, our 14-year-old, is a soccer fanatic, so she just finished up club soccer and is looking to try out for a high school team. Actually, currently is trying out for a high school team. So soccer is her life. She also has loved kind of connecting with the homeschool and connecting with new friends. And Jana, our 11-year-old, is an amazing learner. She loves her youth group and loves her set of friends. God has really blessed, really blessed all our girls with a great group of friends. And so we're super excited about that. And Eliana, who just turned 7 today is her birthday. She's a lot of fun. She brings a lot of joy and excitement to our lives. And so we're very thankful to have our little 7-year-old now running around. And so I wanted to give you a few ways in which you can be praying for us as a family and as an organization, as Pioneers, is really all about going to the hardest places and reaching the unreached. So it's been difficult times. Many of our missionaries, actually a third of our missionaries, are back in the States now and are waiting to return to the field. They had to leave for a variety of reasons, and some of which they got kicked out because of COVID. There was a fear for expats in these countries were kind of identified as those that brought it and are carrying it. So it's been kind of interesting to see how missionaries have been responded to in different contexts. Be praying for our missionaries. A lot are struggling to get visas to be able to return. So pray for all those missionaries who are desiring to go back as soon as they possibly can. And we're thankful some doors are starting to open up, but there's a lot still that has to be done. Pray for myself and the member care team of Pioneers as we consider different kind of alternative ways to connect with folks. We still want people to be connecting with each other and with us here in the home office. So we're trying to get pretty creative about that. So pray for wisdom as we go through that, and pray for my family that we remain healthy. We've had a couple COVID scares. I did an in-person debrief with a couple who turned out to be positive for the virus. And so recently kind of had to do all the testing and quarantine. So just continued prayer for safety. And last but not least, thank you so much, Meadowview, for the many ways you've supported us throughout these years, the ways that you care for us and pray for us. We're so thankful for you guys as a congregation, and we look forward to the chance that we can see you soon. Bye.
名古屋市で妊娠や中絶の相談を受けているボランティア団体です。4月末頃から相談が増え始めたといいます。インターネットカフェで寝泊まりしていたが、閉鎖され居場所がなくなったという妊娠中の女性。コロナで経済不安になり、本当は産みたかったが中絶したという女性。先月寄せられた相談は36件、去年のおよそ2倍です。団体の代表、シンシア・ルーブルさん。思いがけない妊娠に戸惑ったり、中絶を選ぶ人が増えるのではないかと懸念しています。
パニックでたくさんの女性が中絶をすると思う。冷静的になることが難しい。かわいそう。最近の相談者。よ
ろしくお願いいたします。専門家は新型コロナによる経済的な影響が妊娠を不安に変えてしまう可能性を指摘しています。
仕事が急に派遣がなくなってしまったりとか、アルバイトがとても少なくなったり、アルバイトがなくなってしまったときに、本当は育てたかったんだけれども、育てられなくなってしまうっていうことがあると思います。
さらに、外出自粛で病院に行きづらかったり、相談する人が限られていることも深刻な問題だといいます。
例えば妊娠が進んでどうしよう、育てられないけれども、もう中絶することも難しいかもしれないということで、苦境に陥ってしまう方が出てくると思います。
シンシアさんはアメリカ出身の宣教師で20年前に来日。以来、経済的な問題を抱えた女性の妊娠・出産を支えてきました。これまでに生まれた赤ちゃんは70人以上に上ります。
産んでよかったね、みんなが言ったから本当によかった。
かつて夫の家庭内暴力で悩み流産した経験があるシンシアさん。今は養子として迎えたダウン症のあるマイカ君と暮らしています。シンシアさんは自宅の一部をシェアハウスにし、住まいがない女性たちに提供しています。
ホームステイの部屋で広いね。
滞在費は1ヶ月1万円ほど。3人までの女性が共同生活でき、今も1人が暮らしています。
今まで使っている部屋ですね。
滞在中はシンシアさんが生活保護の手続きなどを手伝ってくれるほか、出産の立ち会いもしてくれます。
Hello, how are you? ありがとうございました。
今年、シンシアさんの下で出産した30代の女性です。妊娠が分かったのは去年の夏。相手の男性とは別れ、家族にも出産を反対されるなど、頼れる人はいなかったといいます。
なんかお金もないのに子供を作るなとかいうような意見がインターネット上にこうあったりとか、なんかそんなんで産んだら子供が不幸になるんじゃないかとか。
Hello.
悩んだ末にシンシアさんの家に身を寄せ、3月、無事に男の子を出産。今、妊娠に悩む女性には、意思に反して出産を諦めることはしないでほしいと言います。
もし私があの時家族の反対の意見に乗ってたら会えなかったんだって思うと恐ろしいし、でもやっぱり産んでよかったなっていうのは思いますので。
ありがとう。大事な命ね。よかったね。
こちらこそ守ってもらいました、シンシアさんに。
嬉しい。もちろん赤ちゃんも守りたい。でも私たちのスタンスはすごい女性たちの応援する。コロナがあなたの小さな赤ちゃんの命を盗まないように守ってくださいね。
We have the great privilege to get an update from Jeremy Sink here, who is in Nagoya, Japan, and who we have supported, oh my goodness, well, since the very beginning of you guys going to Japan, but even before that with the church plant. So we're going to ask some questions of Jeremy and let him share just how things are going with them so that you have an update on how to pray and how to love on our missionaries well. So, I said Nagoya, Japan.
Yep, that's done. Go on.
I'm being corrected. So how has the pandemic affected just ministry in general? And then like, have you had to come up with creative ways to continue to minister during the times when it was kind of shut down versus as things are slowly opening back up?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm really glad to be included in the missions conference, and we've been partnering together in some way, shape, or form since Gina and I were married in 1995. That's when we started attending Meadowview, and then the church was with us through seminary and church planting, and now in Japan. And so there's a lot of love in Nagoya for Meadowview, and so thanks for your partnership and your friendship, and for including us in your conference. It's such a weird time here, just like it is there, I know. And probably the creative things that we're doing look a lot like the creative things that you guys are doing. The virus came here early, so we were kind of under that cloud a couple of months, I think, before it was really a problem in the US, or for sure in North Carolina. I think by March, we had to cancel our gatherings, and that looked different from what we saw on Facebook in America too. The government here declared a state of emergency in March, and encouraged groups to stop meeting. They said, we want to ask you a favor, please stop meeting, please distance from one another. And as they did that, they admitted, we don't have any legal authority to tell you to stop meeting, we're just asking you to stop. And so everybody did. We talked as a church and said, you know, the government here is asking us to do something, and so we did. And you know, in terms of creativity, for us at the time, it felt massively creative to shift over to a kind of a live stream. And so we shifted over to a live stream situation for Sundays. We kind of moved our whole operation over into the second floor of the local seminary, Christ Bible Institute, and set up cameras and TV screens and things in there, and just did our whole service there. Asked people to kind of interact via the chat on YouTube during the service and that kind of thing. And then we used Zoom for our small groups. Of course, none of that's creative anymore. Like that's just what everybody's doing, it seems like. But we have seen we've seen a lot of visitors kind of peeking in the window of the church through the live stream, and that feels like a big deal in a country like Japan.
Yeah. All right. Well, any family updates that you want to share on what's changed since we've seen you last, and what's happening in the family, or even what's happening with your ministry in general, if there's any changes with that?
Oh, wow. Yeah, there's a lot has changed. So, in January, I guess Joshua was married. And so that's our first big change of the year. Joshua and Kirsten are now north of Atlanta in Gwinnett County. And Joshua's working with the Gwinnett County Fire and Rescue. So he was supposed to be in school for 2 years, but because of COVID, they've kind of put a rush on the training part of that. And they've already graduated everybody a year ahead. And
wow.
Joshua, my son, is driving an ambulance now, which is, I want to say that's a little frightening to think about.
Slightly terrifying.
So sometimes I think, okay, if I dial 911, that's the guy that's coming to get me in the ambulance, and we feel proud about that. So I'm joking a little bit about it being frightening. Joshua's doing a great job. Kirsten is working as a welder, which is something she's trained to do and loves to do. In a local company there. She seems really happy, but both of those guys are working like crazy hours. You know, Joshua's on 48 and off 24 or something like that. Firemen at Meadowview can probably relate to that. And then Kirsten's working third shift through a temp agency. They're both blessed to have jobs during this time, but you know, that's kind of tough. So they're seeing each other at weird hours and that kind of thing. And then in the fall, Josiah started college at ASU, and so that's also, we had really hoped to be home with him. We had planned to be home with him for that, and kind of wanted to lay eyes on his dorm room and
Yeah.
help him transition in and that kind of thing. And so there's a lot of grief for both of us, but especially for Gina, and having to say goodbye to him here, and you know, watching him walk through security and head to America during a pandemic. That's still a little frightening, but we talk to him most days, and he seems to be doing great. He's really happy at ASU. He's plugged into RUF and into a local PCA church across the road. We couldn't be happier about that. There's an MTW missionary who's doing, or a former MTW missionary who's doing international ministry on campus, and she has ties to Japan, and so most of her ministry is targeted at Japanese students on campus, and Josiah's plugged in there. He has a great roommate who has ties to Meadowview, and so it's
Yeah, we heard.
yeah, God's really been generous in connecting Josiah in some good ways, and that gives us a lot of comfort
Yeah.
too. So Gina and I just celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary, and
Congratulations.
we actually got some days away down in Okinawa to celebrate that. And so we're just getting back and trying to figure out which ends up after a break. But and Garrett's doing great. So Garrett has started a new school this year. We're leaning more on online school than in-person school, partly because of the pandemic and partly just because for Garrett's good, we felt like it was time for a change for him. And so we shifted his school around this year, and it seems like it's been a great change.
All right. So, do you have, I guess, mainly just any specific needs? Like currently, how are you guys doing financially? And then just as far as emotional support or whatever else you guys feel like you need, or even additional support staff with all the things that are changing and whatever in your ministry?
Yeah, I think I can make a long list on most of those topics. Financially, that question's probably the easiest to answer concisely. At least I think it is. The first 2 quarters of this year, even with COVID, our finances seem unaffected. I mean, things looked really strong. This last quarter has been, we've definitely noticed kind of a downturn this last quarter. We're not sweating that. We feel like God's been providing, and he has provided. We have some money in our support account that we can draw from even during kind of a lean season. But if we continue to see the pattern that it's looked like the past maybe 2 reports that we've had, then I'll probably have to reach out and see about raising some additional money. But again, we're not sweating that yet. We're waiting to see. We know that nobody knows the future. God knows the future, and he's always provided what we needed. So I think in terms of need and kind of prayer, we've sent out now 3 leaders from our church to do some kind of church planting over the last 3 years. And so Ueguchi's downtown. He's focused on leading that work. And then Hide and Toshi, who've been working with us for the last few years, just in March, I guess, right before the pandemic hit, we sent them out to plant a new church in town. And so that's a lot of transition for a little congregation, and people are really feeling that. And so we need prayer for kind of unity together and re-envisioning, this next season of ministry together. We still have non-Christians in the congregation who are hearing the gospel. Praise God. So prayer for the Holy Spirit to work in their lives. But it really is, it's a time of challenging transition in the church, even without COVID. And I think Meadowview probably can relate to some of that too. And so you know how to pray for us, but we would really appreciate your prayer. I think more and more Gina and I are realizing that our main contribution in Japan should be to young Japanese leaders. And so that's what God's been blessing. And it's what he's given us a vision for. And then the other side of that coin is I think my future in Japan is not as the pastor of All Nations Fellowship. I really think that my time should be invested in young leaders here. And so even trying to figure out what that means for the church during this season is a little complicated. We need a lot of wisdom from God in that, for him to show us which way to go. I could go on and on, but
so in addition, are there other things we as a supporting church, as partners with you, can be praying for, whether it's for adapting to, having a child married and another one that's a couple years from graduating and that kind of stuff, or just anything else that we can pray for?
Oh, all of that. So we're still parenting 3 boys, and that landscape's changing too. You know, Joshua's married, but we're in close contact with him all the time, and they're trying to figure out how to do life as a new married couple. Josiah's trying to figure out how to do life in Boone. Garrett's an only child and has all of our attention right now. You can pray for Garrett. But yeah, we're in the middle of so much change. So as a family, with the pandemic, with ministry at A&F, and that's super unsettling, and sometimes it can feel pretty overwhelming. And so, and then that, you know, change and stress and all of that also creates conflict in marriage, and like we know about that too. We're happily married, and we're thrilled by how God's helped us. You know, His grace is just so evident over the course of our marriage. But always we need prayer for our marriage and for our parenting. And so we love, by the way, I'll shout out to the compassion team who sends us an encouragement card once a month or so. And like that means so much and keeps us connected with you guys.
So the last thing would be just, do you feel, I didn't ask this before, but how do you feel like now that you guys are with Surge, that they are doing and supporting you guys through the craziness of the pandemic? Do you feel like they've been?
Oh, wow. I'm so glad you asked that question. Surge has been phenomenal.
Good.
We are receiving the kind of support that we really long for. We had a company conference scheduled. We were supposed to go to Spain to be with all of the missionaries from the whole company back in May, and of course, Spain's not a good place to be right now, and so we couldn't go. And so instead of the company conference, we did a series of company-wide Zoom calls, and when I thought about that, my eyes just rolled back in my head. I thought, why do I want to be on a Zoom call with 300 people? And it was so encouraging. Some pastors preached to us, ministered the gospel to us. Some singers that we love, who are associated with our denomination, actually did some special songs for us on the Zoom call, and just loved us well. Member Care is in touch with us monthly just to check in and see how we're doing. Surge has a third culture kid specialist who's following up with Josiah every month and taking care of him. And I think Surge is famous for member care, and we're kind of realizing why. And so yeah, Surge, the shift to Surge has been great.
Well, that is a huge blessing and a praise.
It is. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we will wrap up, and thank you very, very much for being willing to be a part of the conference and to let everybody see your face again, and give hugs and love to Gina and the boys that you do see or talk to on Zoom from all of us.
I'd be happy to give Gina a hug. On your behalf.
Good.
And I'll just say one more time, guys, we're so thankful for Meadowview. We're so thankful for your partnership. We need the financial support, like that matters, and it means a lot, but Meadowview's friendship and partnership is so much deeper than that, and it has so much more history attached to it. And so from the church and from individuals in the church, we're so thankful for you. We love you guys.